This is Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us today for Live with Annie. As usual, we've started the stream a bit early. This helps us get everything set up and broadcasting properly to our various platforms. You can find a countdown clock on the screen showing how long it will be until we actually go live. While you wait, please connect with us and other viewers in the chat. Let us know where you are from and whether you're a new or longtime viewer. We'll see you live soon! Thanks again for joining us for Live with Annie. We are so happy to have you with us today. While you wait for the program to start, we hope you'll enjoy the content playing on screen. There's so much inspiration, so take a moment to tell us what you love in the chat. Don't forget there is a countdown clock on the screen so you know how long until we go live. Annie again, reminding you that we'll be going live with this week's episode shortly. There is a countdown clock on the screen showing how much time is left. You've got just enough time to grab some water or a beverage of your choice and a snack, and to connect with us in the chat. We'd love to hear what you've been working on this week. It's Annie, back to remind you that we'll be starting this week's live very shortly. We've got a really fun episode planned for today, and we'll see you soon. Hi, I'm Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 13 of season 5 of Live with Annie. I am thrilled today to share more information about our new collaboration with Elissa Ziccardi of Quilting Elissa. Elissa will join us to talk about her creative journey and the inspiration behind her new patterns. In this episode, we're going to focus on her pattern Backpack Straps and Pockets, which is designed to be used with our favorite ByAnnie backpacks. Stay tuned for inspiration, tips, and ideas to take your bag making to the next level. It is always wonderful to see all of you here, and we know there are millions of things that you could be doing with this time. So we really appreciate it when you make the time to be with us, even if you are catching us on the replay. Please take a minute to follow us wherever you are watching, and if you know someone else who might enjoy the information that we share, we would really love it if you'd tell them about Live with Annie too. Just tag them while you're watching, as that will take them directly to the episode and they can watch it too. Also, we always love reading your comments, so be sure to interact with us throughout this presentation. We want to know what you think and love learning from you too. If you have any questions, just add them in the comments or chat, and we will do our best to answer them before we close. In our last episode, we focused on ByAnnie's Sew Pink initiative for 2025, our year-long campaign to spread awareness of cancer throughout the year. We talked about October's month-long blog hop, which was expanded to cover all cancers, and we showcased the projects we made to spread awareness of cancer throughout the year. If you missed that episode, or if you want to watch it again, remember that you can find all the previous 195 episodes of Live with Annie on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, or at ByAnnie.com. And we've put up all the links to make them easy for you to find. Time for a quick drink. It is such a pleasure today to welcome back Elissa Ziccardi of Quilting Elissa to Live with Annie. Many of you may remember meeting Elissa in episode 29 of season 4 when she wowed us with her stunning projects. Well, today we are even more excited because we get to share her brand new collaboration with us. Elissa has been busy designing 4 fabulous new patterns that combine her love of quilting with her garment and bag making expertise. The result? Projects that are modern, bold, and full of personality. Her work always shines with thoughtful details, precise techniques, and amazing color combinations. And I can't wait for all of you to hear about her inspiration and see these beautiful designs up close. So please help me give a warm welcome back to Elissa of Quilting Elissa.
Hey, Annie, how are you?
I am good.
It's so great. Good. It's so great to be back. I love seeing your face again after we had all that time together. It's been a heck of a year. We've done so much brainstorming and testing and designing, and then we can finally share it with everyone. I know that we're really, really both very excited about that.
For sure. This collaboration has been in the works for over a year now, and I too am really glad that we can finally share your amazing patterns with the world. So let's start at the beginning. Can you tell everyone how this collaboration came about?
Yeah, so as you know, and if you're brand new to me, you should know that I'm a longtime ByAnnie lover, as both a maker and an educator. One of the things that I really appreciate about ByAnnie is that it's rooted in education, that it's encouraging students to and makers to grow in their existing skill set by writing very detailed, thorough patterns and offering e-learning opportunities. Your commitment to local quilt shops is near and dear to my heart. I believe it's super important. So we absolutely align in those ways as well. My mission is to inspire, grow as an individual, as a maker and an educator and a pattern author, to create and speak authentically, and to empower others to do the very same things. All characteristics that I see in you, Annie. And so it was just the perfect timing, opportunity, creative partnership to really just take it all and say, all right, let's do this. Let's jump in with both feet and just have some fun while we're doing it. And that's exactly what we've been doing.
For sure. I have to say, working with you on these projects has really been a pleasure. I really appreciate your dedication, your commitment to our patterns, and your skills in taking them to the next level. Working with someone who really believes in the importance of reading a pattern and who has the same work ethic and commitment to making a quality pattern has really been a delight. And I also greatly admire your desire to help makers succeed and create their own unique projects. I even enjoyed
Mhm.
those late nights spent reviewing pattern wording, adjusting layouts, and working on step outs for videos. I had to laugh so many nights when we both hung in there till the wee hours, knowing that when we were done, we'd get to eat Ben and Jerry's New York Super Fudge Chunk and watch an episode of Project Runway, even if it was 2 a.m. We kind of are
Oh my
dangerous
gosh.
together.
Yeah. Yeah. Dangerous in a really good way, right?
For sure.
Yeah, the ice cream, I tell you what, it was like, okay, let's just keep working. We're gonna get there till we get to the ice cream. But no, it was a ton of fun. It was a really great week. We did a whole bunch of sewing. We did lots of pattern editing. To get all the way through to work on something for 8 or 9 hours to have the software glitch was not awesome. But we just kept rolling with the punches and we were like, all right, we've got something else to do. What else can we do? And just being really flexible to move forward was really fantastic. I really appreciated the opportunity that it was just, okay, I'm going to go this way and I'm going to go this and you're going to go this way and we're going to do the things and we'll meet right back in the middle. And really take that opportunity. So it was really great. The patterns have been in the works for quite a long time, admittedly longer than I, would have liked them to be. So it was really great to work with the whole team and just kind of launch all of that. I definitely had some nerves around doing the videos and everything else. If you've taken class with me, you know I love to be in person, sometimes in your personal space, but in person and really having that one-to-one back and forth. So it was really important to me that that still came through on the screen and I was immediately put at ease right away by the whole team. Jake and Glow were just absolute professionals and just smiled and encouraged from the very first take to the very last audio clip. And it was really awesome. One of my favorite parts was meeting everyone at the ByAnnie team. There are so many moving parts that are happening and there's real people that are really making it happen. So it was really great to be able to eye to eye get to say, it is truly a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for the work that you do. I hope I don't drive you crazy with the patterns that I'm going to put out, recognizing that there's a human being that's picking that and putting it together and putting their time, talent, and treasure into it. So it was really awesome. Everything from the sewing studio to fabric pulls to teaching Glow to foundation paper piece at, the wee hours of the morning and then sitting down and having dinner together. And all of that things was very cool. I will say watching the semi and all the soft and stable come in was really, really cool. I was like totally mesmerized. That was so fun. But just really like the whole thing. And truthfully, the New York Super Fudge Chunk plus the Project Runway, that helped. It was a great week. So much fun.
I have to agree. It was really a fun time and a busy time. I mean, it's really hard to believe that we fit all of that into, I'm not sure it was even a full week. I think it was less than a week. And
I
we
think
were super
so.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
not a lot of sleeping, but that's okay.
Yeah, and I had totally forgotten about those software glitches. That was so incredibly frustrating because we would put all this effort in. I would make notes, we would go fix them together, and then we'd go back and everything was gone. But as you said,
Yeah.
it was super nice because we had plenty of other things we could move on to. And because we had such a tight time frame, because you had a flight to go home, we just had to make the best of it and keep going. So then once all that was done, you went home, I stayed here. We both got really busy sewing models, and I know that both of us were busy sewing right up until we left for Houston. I was still sewing at 2 a.m. the night before we left, I know. And then came the fun of setting up the booth and getting everything ready for the show. So we were especially thankful to you and your husband, Mike, for being there every step of the way because your energy and enthusiasm really made everything so much fun. This was your first time doing a trade show, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, it was. It was my first time in booth. And I just have to say, it was so much fun. And I truthfully, mean that because it's all of the piece parts that came together. So everything from literally building the booth from the ground up, walking in and getting badges and okay, we're laying down the floor. And then the next thing, the crate's going to get open and we're going to start to put up walls. And then, we're going to have washers and screws and oh, there they are, literally building everything. If you know my husband, building is not his forte, but he said, I am happy to help out. I'm happy to jump in where I can. So even if he was like, I can just hold this piece of wood right now, to get it up, that's what he was willing to do. So it was so much fun. Really just seeing how it all comes together. It was like in a very odd way, the same as like putting together fabrics, right? Like you get to step back and say, here's the image in my head, and here's how we need to make all the things work and make sure we get it together. It was just a blast. I mean, it was lots of smiles. It was a lot of laughter. It was a ton of teamwork. I'm so, so thankful to the entire team, because it was just great. Like, being able to spend that time with you and Jackie and Casey and, Linda and Michelle and doing all the things. It was a treat. It was an awesome experience. I'm really, really thankful that I had the opportunity to be a part of it.
Well, we really appreciated your help. I said this setup took us longer, I think, than a booth in a long time, because we had so many little things that, like all the snappy sleeves and focal point and all those, don't have ways to easily hang them or display them. So we were safety pinning and zip tying them, and it's like, are we ever going to get done with this booth? It took us 2 long, full, very busy days. And then in the middle of all that, we had to take a break to run upstairs and present 2 schoolhouses for shop owners. So for people who may not have ever been to market, these are usually 15-minute to half hour. We always do half hour because we like to talk. But these are held on the day before market starts. And we love doing these because they really give us a great opportunity to share our new patterns and products with a room full of shop owners. So even though attendance was down at market this year, our schoolhouses were very well attended. And when the show opened on Friday, we were slammed. Everybody was so excited about your new patterns, Elissa. How did that feel for you?
In one word, having the opportunity to share this collaboration and really introduce it and launch it to shop owners from all over, whether it was someone that I knew, previously, which is smaller. I know everyone and everyone knows Annie, but it was in one word, awesome. Like it was just truly like one of the best experiences to eye be able to just finally share it out loud, and get to celebrate that with everyone. To have that authentic hug and a thank you. It was very emotional for me, in like the best way. We had so many awesome models and new patterns and products to introduce, and somehow we managed to do it in 30 minutes, which is crazy. And like you said, our schoolhouses were so packed and full. It was really just awesome. That's the only word I can come up with. It was awesome.
Yeah, it super was awesome. And I mean, your patterns were so popular at market and festival that they were sold out the first day of each show. And so many orders continued to pour in over the past weeks that we sold out here at the warehouse too. So that's part of the reason that we're waiting until next week to talk about your beautiful Bella coat pattern and all of its expansion packs, the accent sleeves, and the arcs and beauties. Because though we do most of our pattern printing here in-house, we don't have the equipment to do those great big templates that you need for the coat. So we had to wait on replenishments to get here for that. So that meant we had to postpone shipment until next week in order to get restocked.
Yeah. So I was really blown away at the popularity in the best way. Like you said, we sold out on the first day of the show and on the first day of festival. So the market is the trade show, and then festival is open to the public. This was literally, I think Mike took that picture, he said, within the first minute that we opened. And it was just overwhelming in the best way. Great problem to have, like you said, to be selling out. I think at one point I was sitting on the show floor handing patterns over my head, which was wonderful. I just wanted to jump up on my feet and, be able to, eye to eye again, say, thank you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for, being so excited about this and believing in this collaboration. And I'm loving seeing everyone up on the screen. It's like, it's taking me back. I can't believe it's been a month now, since all of it happened. But just that really big, authentic thank you was super, super special for me. It was the sprinkles on top of the icing, on top of the cake, that just, took it over the top. So, like you said, we were sold out for a while, but good news, more patterns are on the way. I know that there are some shops that I had some. I know that everyone's going to be able to buy them on ByAnnie.com starting next week, November 12th. And we'll be back next week to talk about the Bella Quilt Coat and all those expansions.
Yep, for sure. And I know that a lot of our team is making a special day to come in this Saturday just to assemble coat patterns. So they're planning to have pizza and make a party out of it. So yeah, we're working hard to get it ready. You know, it's always a guessing game when you're trying to decide how much to order of a product. You know, we always wish we had a crystal ball so that we'd know exactly what people will want, and then we'd never run out of things. We ran into similar problems. I mean, you can't really say they're a problem when you've got something that's popular, but we sold out of our tool-free snaps and our awl, and so we're waiting on those. So originally today we had planned to introduce our new patterns that use those snaps, but we're going to wait until we have them back in stock. Hopefully that's going to be in the next few weeks, maybe even a little sooner, so we'll feature focal point, foldy locks, and snappy sleeves in an upcoming episode.
Yeah, I'm super jazzed about your new patterns, foldy locks, focal point, and snappy sleeves. I know you just said that, but they're awesome. I got to play Vanna White during schoolhouse and open them up and show them off to everyone. And the really fun part about those patterns is those snaps don't go into the very end. So you can start sewing now, get all the way to the very end. And then as soon as the snaps and the new extra sharp awl is back in stock, then you're ready to just pop those on. They're amazing sizes for gift giving. I think a ton of people are going to love it for gift giving, love it for quick projects, use up some of their favorite fabrics. Sometimes we don't want to pour, a week or 2 weeks into a project. Sometimes we just want it to be a couple of hours, and all of those patterns are really good for that. So yeah, I know everyone's going to love them.
For sure. For sure. And the really good news is that because those are delayed and we don't get a chance to talk about those, today we get to take a deep dive into the backpack straps and pockets pattern, which you designed to go with 3 ByAnnie patterns. I really loved seeing how your style, which is always bold, bright, and precise, blends so well with all of our techniques.
Yeah, so backpack straps and pockets was super fun to design. As you know, I'm a backpack gal. I love all my pockets. I love your backpacks because they're huge and spacious and they have tons of pockets, and I'm always looking for a place to put a pocket. And it just makes sense to me, or excuse me, not a place to put a pocket, embellishments to put on a pocket. It always makes sense to me when I've got one of your big, beautiful pockets is it needs to be highlighted. It needs to be shown off. There's lots of details that go into all of your patterns, but I just love like a pocket that jumps out at you. And because I tend to load up my stuff, your padded straps are super, super comfortable. And it's just a really clever way to add embellishment. I've never met an embellishment, a trim, some type of extra little detail that I didn't love. So it just kind of made sense that, of course, I'm going to be more is more is more and a little bit of extra. And so that was just a great opportunity to take your patterns that I already loved and just take them to the next level. So that was really where the pattern came from. I was putting it on my backpacks. I'm going to grab the one that started it. So I was putting it on a lot of my backpacks and other things. And I had done this big, huge one when it came out because I was just really looking for ways to show that off, and these really nice straps down the back. So because of a lot of those different requests for, hey, where can I get that pattern? I want to make that. How can I do that? It was, let's just go ahead and make this a pattern. And I took my 3 favorite backpacks of yours, which is Leader of the Pack, Courtside, and Out and About. You've heard me say it before. It's kind of like little sister, middle sister, big sister, because one is a little bit smaller. I can fit, just what I need in it for that day. One's going to be my middle, where I can keep my hands free and touch all the things, on all 3 of them when I'm in my local quilt shop and I have to pick up my new favorite pattern or pick up more hardware for my next bag or obviously more fabric. So backpack lets me do that. And then Leader of the Pack is actually the one that I travel with. So if you've seen me in class or if I'm jumping on a plane, I'm traveling across the country somewhere, Leader of the Pack is on my back. I know it's what I was wearing when I came out to see you. It's what I took down to Houston. It's my favorite one to carry everywhere. So yep. So those are the 3.
Should we take a minute and show the ones that we've got here?
Yeah, do that. Let's do that. That'd be great. And then I can grab some water.
Sounds great. So let's take a look at these real quick. So when we were planning our models that we were making for Houston, we kind of decided we really want the focus on these to be on the FPP additions that were added to the pattern. So we decided if we make the bags out of just a black solid, then you're really going to be able to see what the backpack straps and pockets pattern adds. So that's what we did on each of these. So as you can see on the Out and About, we did this awesome front pocket and the backpack straps with the flying geese on the back. Out and About comes with 2 different sizes of straps. So the pattern includes both of those options. And then on Leader of the Pack, which is this one, Elissa designed this amazing pocket to go on the front, which really draws your eye straight to it and is a perfect place for all that FPP. And then again, FPP straps on the back. On this one, we put the geese so that they're flying north. On our Courtside, we put the geese so that they're flying south. So you can do either way, and you can see that just by changing the fabrics we used. On this one, we used Kaffe fabrics that kind of read as solids, where here we did actual solids, but we did a binding that blended in a little bit better with the background, where here we did a really colorful binding. You can get really different looks just by varying that. And then on Courtside, since it has this great big pocket, but it has a zipper down it, we decided to leave, or Elissa decided to leave the front pocket as it is and do the FPP on this project on the pocket that goes on the side. So the pattern includes all of those options. And Elissa, do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you see makers using the pattern for their projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to take this opportunity. Annie, if you could hold up your Courtside next to mine, because
okay.
this really kind of shows off what we're talking about in terms of, and I'm gonna, there we go. So it's the exact same pattern that you can see in both, but just basically because of the way that we varied it, you can see how unique it looks from maker to maker to maker. And that's kind of the whole intention behind it, is really letting
Turn it around and show your straps compared to mine, because those are also so totally different because of how you combined the gradating fabric, not just on the geese, but also in the backgrounds, which also gives another whole look.
Yeah, and what's so fun about it is, so I love this because mine are going up and yours are going down. There's no rules. We're not going to be directional rule police here, right? About which way our geese have to fly. But it's so fun because you get a totally different look. You get a totally different feel and different vibe just based upon how you decide to play with it. We were showing that a lot when we were at the show, and people would turn and look at it and go, oh my gosh, that is the same bag. And that was kind of the intention behind foundation paper piecing for me, is that you can make it your own. It's just a blank canvas. And we're going to talk about what's included in the pattern when I mean it truly is a blank canvas. It just starts from, black and white in the ground up, and you get to dream up what you want it to look like and how you want it to look together. And I know we have some tester pictures too that will show some of those differences. But that was really kind of the point behind it, was how can you take what already exists, add something, there we go, like that Courtside on the left. That's just 2 fabrics. It's a solid fabric on one, and that Sweet Tooth from Untamed on the other one. And you can see in those straps, she used the solid as the geese, and in the opposite bag on the other side, the solids were the background fabric. So it just is a totally different take on how do you want to make it your own. Seriously, such a huge shout out to my testers. They were so detailed. They had really authentic, creative feedback. There were no, rules around what you had to sew with or what you wanted to put together. They got to pick what they wanted to test and the fabrics that they wanted to put on. And you can see, these 2 Out and Abouts right next to each other in the center of the screen, and then to the right of the screen, same exact pattern, same exact bag pattern, same exact FPP pattern, and they have totally different vibes. And that's the point, is to create authentically. Just take a base pattern, use your own creativity and imagination. FPP is precise, accurate, easy, even for beginners. Super stunning results without a lot of fuss. It's probably my favorite technique in my sewing toolbox, and to include in my projects, because of all those reasons. So thank you so much to my testers, for your hard work and for being game to try this out. I really, really appreciate it. And you did a beautiful, beautiful job. So should we talk about what's included in the pattern?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Okay, so backpack, straps, and pockets. Let's start with the smallest one first. So I'm going to grab an out and about. So backpack, straps, and pockets is going to, because this will fit on the screen while I talk. There we go. Is going to include a pocket. So obviously on out and about, we've got the small pocket here to show off, and then your motif. So it's going to include a pocket with the template for the motif. And then it's also going to include the flying geese straps. In out and about, you're going to get 2 lengths because there's a short length in the ByAnnie pattern, and then there's a long length. So you're going to get 2 lengths of that one. Then for Courtside, you're going to get your side pocket, as we've talked about. And that's also going to have the template that is specifically in there. And then your flying geese on the back. And the flying geese on the back and Courtside are the same geese that are on the back of Leader of the Pack. Fun fact. And this looks totally different. I got really crazy with those fabrics. But why not, right? Life's short. Have fun with your fabric. And then on the front pocket, you're going to get Leader of the Pack with a big template on that. So all of those patterns are going to include all those foundations. So 3 different pocket foundations, 3 different template sizes, and then 2 sizes for out and about, and then 1 size for Leader of the Pack and Courtside padded straps. So those are going to be your foundation patterns. Also in that expansion pack, you're going to get cut charts. So if you're brand new, you don't have to think about what fabrics you need. We've given you cut charts, sample unit diagrams, so you know exactly what it's going to look like once you're all said and done. It's going to have a full illustrated layout. It's going to take you all the way through the steps from cutting and quilting. We love that in a ByAnnie pattern. That's where we start there, right? Is cutting and quilting. You're going to get 2 options for cutting and quilting there. And then you're also going to get a coloring page. Fun fact, I use my own coloring pages to this day. It lets me get what's going on in my head out to paper. I get to practice it onto my paper using some colored pencils before I actually start cutting into those fabrics. And then it's great because if I need a refresher or a reminder, I can come back and just glance at that really quickly as I'm going to go and piece. So that way I know how it's going to come together. So those are all the things that are going to come included in the pattern. Your master foundations that are going to be in the pattern. And this is going to be important. You're going to make copies. They are full-size copies. They copy to 8.5 by 11. And we're going to talk about my favorite foundation paper in just a minute. But they're going to copy out to 8.5 by 11 standard letter size. They're at 100%. So you don't have to do any enlarging or anything like that. And the great part about that is that it's not single use. I wanted to make sure that I was offering you a pattern that was not single use. So that way you could take it and you could put it in any way that you saw imaginable that you wanted to make a project your own, even if it wasn't this specific bag, or, one of those specific bags. That way you can make it your own. So inside of that expansion pack, like I said, we're going to start with cutting and quilting. Then we're going to work to our foundation paper piecing for our straps. Then we're going to finish our straps following the exact same techniques that we do in the ByAnnie pattern. And then we're going to go into our pocket. We're going to go ahead and prepare our template. So it's going to walk you through preparing your template, interfacing your template. So that way it doesn't shrink into your soft and stable and into your foundation paper pieced pattern. And then we're going to attach that FPP unit to our pocket. And then it's going to tell you, go and proceed with your ByAnnie pattern, and it's going to tell you exactly where to pick up and just jump right back into your pattern. So it was written to take you from starting of, hey, I want to level up this project that I already love, to now I'm going to go directly into that backpack, and you can just continue to construct that bag just as you would normally if you were just making your pattern. So it really is this seamless combination of you just get to add a little bit of extra to that bag.
That's awesome. And I love that you chose to do foundation paper piecing for it, because to me, it's the thing that's going to make all of us look like rock stars. I am not an accurate piecer. I mean, I have a really hard time getting my points to be right there and everything. But with FPP, it's so easy to have pieces that fit and have perfect points. So Thank you for
Yeah.
designing it that way. So for people who might be new to FPP, who haven't done a lot of it before, let's start by telling them a little bit about the tools and supplies that you use.
Yeah, absolutely. So FPP, because we use that a lot, just that shorthand, stands for foundation paper piecing. So in our foundation paper piecing, inside of my toolkit, so I just opened up my drop zone. So this is the large drop zone. Just so you know, so I'm going to open up all my stuff and set it in front of me. You're probably like, what's all that clanking around that she's got going on? All my toolkit's going to live in there. So the thing that we're going to first start with is sewing machine feet. And this information is going to be included in the add-on video also. But I want to show you, I've got 2 different types of sewing machine feet. For backpack straps and pockets, you're going to want an open toe foot for applique or FPP. And then I also like my 37 1/4 inch foot because I can see my needle on that. A standard utility foot also works great, which is this one, or an open toe applique foot. That way you can just see all the way through. So I just want to give everyone 2 different options of what those look like. We're going to have some cutting tools, so I'm going to pull all those out. So I love a 28 millimeter for foundation paper piecing because it doesn't take a lot of work into my shoulder to move around. I'm just doing short pieces, short stitches, so that one's great. When I'm actually piecing, when I'm cutting my fabric for FPP, I just have a normal 45 millimeter. You're going to want some paper scissors because we don't want to dull those blades down. So I have 2 options, regular paper scissors. I also have a dedicated rotary cutter and with dull blades. That way I can reuse my blades. And I use this to trim and prepare my papers. So either one. It's just a great opportunity for me to have less waste and put something that I would normally toss, which is going to be a dull blade. It's great for paper because that's all I'm doing is trimming my papers. We are also going to have some snips. So I've got my cute little 6-inch snippers here. That way I can have good thread management. And then on those pockets for those motifs, I had like a super sharp pair of scissors with a nice sharp point on the top. That way I can get a really nice fine cut on that template to cut all the way around that. Okay, we are going to have our seam roller or an iron. I like a seam roller because then I don't have to move. I don't have to get up and go to my space. I don't have to worry about burning on myself on an iron. But again, I'm not here to tell you what you should love and what you shouldn't. This is what I like to use, so it works for me. If you love to foundation paper piece with a mini iron, or you have your system, your station set up with your iron right next to you, use that. But this is just going to be to roll out my seam super quickly and easily there. We are going to have some thread. So I like an 80 weight. That is my personal favorite because I tend to do things that have lots of points that are coming together, very small pieces, which means this is going to have less bulk in my seam once I'm actually pressing that fabric open. Also 50 weight is going to be great. So if you only have one or the other, 80 weight, there's going to be a ton on the spool and it's going to be super fine piecing and less bulk. That's my reason for that. You're going to also want 2 different types of needles depending on which one you use. I like a 70-10 for an 80 weight. That way my thread doesn't jump around in the eye. An 80-12 for my 50 weight because it just handles the little bit of a thicker thread a little bit bigger. I do not go any larger than that. And the reason for that is because we're going to sew with a very short stitch length. The larger your needle, the larger your holes that are going to go into your paper, into your fabric, which means if you use a really large needle, it has the risk of tearing your paper while you're piecing. A sew line, water soluble glue pen. This is just my favorite because I have a billion of these, refills. The reason that we use the sew line is because that's how we're going to put our first piece of fabric down to temporarily base that into place. So grab yourself a water soluble glue pen. You are going to have your ByAnnie stiletto because I can't live without that for anything else. And it helps me keep all those points as you were talking about, making me look like a rock star. My stiletto is going to keep that down. Okay, you are going to also need an 1/4 plus ruler. And the reason that I love the plus is because, I hope you can see this on screen. Yes, you can. It has a beveled edge. So it's a super flat, sharp edge, which means that I'm going to get super flat folds and really, really nice, crisp creases there. And so I'm not going to have any bulk in that extra seam. The other side of it has a grooved edge, which is going to be my 1/4 inch on the other side. And you guys are carrying these online now, aren't you, Annie?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. I thought so. So we'll talk about those in a minute, but I wanted to make sure that it's the plus that's really important. There is a regular add a quarter ruler. There's nothing wrong with it. I love the plus because of that beveled edge. It just helps my fold be a little bit nicer. So then you're going to need a tool to remove your papers at the end. My favorite is Swiss style tweezers. I love these Tula Pink because it has a super, super sharp point on the end. And then it has this flat edge that when I'm going to pull and remove my papers, it just pops right up. So it's got that super nice flat edge. All right, so those are the things that you're going to need to do your piecing, right? And you're like, okay, Alyssa, you just said like 27 things to me. I get it. But once you have your FPP toolkit, and chances are you have most of what I went over already in your sewing arsenal, in your toolkit, right? Once you have that, you don't need anything else because, except replenishing those threads that you're going to run out of. One of the things that you will need is your FPP paper. My favorite is Carol Doakes foundation paper. I love Carol Doakes paper because it's lightweight. It doesn't shrink when I press it. It doesn't tear as I'm sewing. It really holds its shape. It's translucent when I'm piecing. I like to piece with a light box. And so I can see straight through it. And because like I said, we're sewing with that short stitch length, it tears out really, really easily. So this is my favorite. It comes in packs of 100 or 50. I always get the 100 and I get several packs at a time because I'm going to go through it. But again, like I said, in those patterns, because they're 100% at those letter size, grab yourself a stack of paper and don't make those single use. You can do them over and over and over. So I talked about a light box. So I'm going to show you my small one. This is in the add-on video also. So I just have this little small guy, not very big. It's perfect. And then on top of it, a translucent cutting mat. Now, obviously I don't have any power going through this. Otherwise it'd be blasting you out with a whole bunch of light. And you can see it's very well loved. It continues to go and go and go and go. But the reason that this goes on top is that I can see straight through it. And I can do all of my cutting and my trimming directly on top of that. So is a light box absolutely necessary? No. Does it make my life easier and does it make my piecing more enjoyable? 1,000,000,000%. So that's why I love it. And the last thing that you're going to want is just a standard ruler. That's just going to be to cut your fabrics as you're preparing per those cut charts. Okay, what did I miss?
I think the only thing I see that you've missed is sewing clips and straight pins, a seam ripper.
Yeah. And I've got a lot of those. So sewing clips, because that's how when we're going to put those multiple pieces together, you're going to use sewing clips down the side to hold them together. You're going to use your straight pin because that's how we're going to employ hang pin technique. And we actually show that in the add-on video also. Hang pin, for those that are not familiar with it, is the pin goes directly through the point. It matches the point on the opposite side. They meet together and then it hangs loose on the pin. That way they're together, and then you match your edges together, place your sewing clips. So that's the purpose of the straight pin. Believe it or not, it's not to actually hold anything together or hold anything in place or hold a pattern down. It's so that you can do hang pin. So yeah, the other thing that I know that we say in the pattern, and I had talked about it with the coloring pages, is some colored pencils. I like erasable colored pencils because chances are I'm going to change my mind in my color, and that way I can just erase it without having to print a new copy of the coloring page. So I feel like that might be
that's a smart idea, because I was wondering as you're making decisions, how do you decide? So color erasable, that's a really smart idea. And one thing I wanted to mention before I forget is we now have the add a quarter plus ruler, the Carol Doakes paper in sets of, I think, 100 pages, right, Glo? And Tula's tweezers. Those all three we didn't have on our website before, but we thought people are going to want those. And, always, always, always ask for them first at your local quilt shop. But if they don't have them, or you don't have a local quilt shop and they can't get them for you, know that you can find those at ByAnnie. So talk a little bit about stitch lengths. You talked about needles, but what stitch length do you usually use when you're doing FPP?
Yeah, so for FPP, because we're so in foundation paper piecing, it's backwards and upside down. And what I mean by that is your pattern is going to be a mirror reversed image of what it looks like. So the fabric goes on the wrong side of the paper, away from the printed letters and numbers that you see, and we're going to sew directly on a line. So, like you said, Annie, foundation paper piecing makes us look like rock stars, right? We just sew on a line, it's great. So for that reason, because we're going to be removing those papers later and we don't want to pop those stitches and we want to make our paper removal process easier, we're going to sew with a very short stitch length. For me, this is somewhere between 1.4 to 1.6. Your machine might be 1.6 to 1.8. Because machines are going to vary, I encourage you to do a test sew first, remove some of those papers, just, grab a scrap of fabric, put it on some paper, sew through it, and then go ahead and remove that. But the shorter your stitch length, the easier that paper removal is going to be, and you're not going to pop those stitches. So that's the reason for the short stitch length. Small pieces, small, sometimes they're teeny tiny. They're not in backpack straps and pockets, which is great because it's really built for someone who is brand new to paper piecing all the way up to someone that's been paper piecing for years and years and years. The stitch lengths, or excuse me, the stitch portions on those pockets are a little bit longer, and they're not crazy short on the flying geese. So it really is just an enjoyable, rhythmic, repetitive technique. So that's the reason for the stitch length.
These were super fun to work on, and you had so many good tips. I had never tried an out a quarter plus ruler before. I've always used a little flat ruler to fold my pattern, and then I've used the out a quarter ruler. But having that out a quarter plus and being able to fold and trim all in one step really saved some time. I really liked that. I also have always said, oh, I can just use plain copy paper doing it, but that Carol Doakes paper really did make them so much easier to remove. So you really made me a believer in that, especially when that coat that I made with all of those FPP blocks on it, when I had to take that paper out, I said, yeah, I'm really glad that Glow talked me into printing it on the Carol Doakes paper for this.
Oh,
And
good.
I had never used toolless tweezers before either. So that was really fabulous. And for people who haven't done FPP, know that all of these things are included in the add-on video. So Elissa's going to show you beginning to end all the steps that you need to do it. You've got some different methods, a little bit different than what I do. Where you stop and start stitching is different from any that I've done. I will confess, most of the time I sew all the way to the edges just because that's what I've always done, and it's hard teaching an old dog new tricks. But you had so many other tips like stacking your pieces and stuff that no one had ever suggested that to me before, and that made things so much faster and easier because I knew what I wanted, what order I wanted things in, and they were all in a stack. All I had to do was grab the next piece. I didn't have to think, okay, which color is next? Am I working on the background or am I working on the goose? I could tell just by looking at the fabric which one it was. So I loved that.
I'm so happy that was helpful. You have come to learn that I'm a super plan and prepper. It's one of my little quirks. I love to plan a project. Like I feel like half the enjoyment is in planning my project. So on that tip, so for anyone that's not familiar with stack and sort, I will show you exactly what I mean by stack and sort in the add-on video. We also have a one-pager that is now available with all those expansion packs that says FPP, Foundation Paper Piecing Skills and Techniques. And that is a great start here place. It's really meant as a brand new tutorial or a refresher if it's been a while since you paper pieced. And the very first thing that it's going to start with is organize your fabrics, right? And so stack and sort. So what I mean by that is you're going to take your first piece of fabric, the one that's going to cover that number one on your FPP piece. It's going to go right side down against your workspace. The next piece of fabric that you're going to place on that you're going to sew together, which would be number two, is going to go right side down against that first piece. You're going to continue to stack and sort. Piece three, right side down. Piece four, right side down. And you're going to stack your whole thing. Then you're going to take that stack, you're going to flip it over, you're going to go to your sewing machine, and then all you have to do is just pull directly off that stack, and you never have to think about which order did I plan this in? Am I on the right piece? Which piece am I supposed to be on? And especially when you're making those gorgeous sleeves that you put on your bellow coat, I love those. It probably made it so much easier because you had lots of pieces to go. And you could just do it. And even if it was 2 o'clock in the morning before that ice cream and before Project Runway, you moved through it. So that's one of the tips that we go over. On the opposite side of that one pager, it's going to be FPP one step at a time. And it's going to be the written text instruction for what we show and what you hear me talk about as I'm demonstrating foundation paper piecing in those add-on videos. So it's a great one that you can just keep. Throw it in with the rest of your ByAnnie patterns, put it in a sleeve protector. If you're like me, you've got lots of binders and lots of sleeve protectors, print that out, throw that in. It has all of our basic, tips and tricks and FPP one step at a time to walk you through that. So I really do want to encourage and bring everyone to the table. If you haven't tried it, please come and try it. If you've tried it before and you didn't think it was your thing, I really want to encourage you to maybe give it another shot, give yourself the opportunity to try. The worst that happens is that you go, okay, nope, this wasn't for me. But the best that happens is go, oh, you know what? I think I really like this. And that's just fantastic. Just that you gave yourself the opportunity to try. So yeah, so I'm so happy that Stack and Sort was great for you.
It was such a good tip. I will do that forever when I FPP now. I really loved that. So let's talk a little bit too about the shapes that you do on the pockets. So I forgot to show this bag earlier. So this is another leader of the pack. As I said, we made the black ones for really focusing on that. But this was a new line of fabric from Natalie Barnes for Wyndham called Winding Road. And I thought, I want to show, I know that a lot of your bags are always made with Tula, and it's like, I want to show people that it doesn't have to be Tula and it doesn't have to be solid. So we did this one. And again, you can see that we used colors that were in this line, but lots of fun looks. But let's talk about how you do the fussy cutting and attaching these motifs that go in the centers.
Yeah. So, I love that bag. I love that bag. I kept grabbing it when we were at market. I'm like, look at this one from Annie, because I love that bag.
It was super fun.
So, I love to fussy cut. I love to fussy cut. I fussy cut everything, right? Almost sometimes to a crazy level, but I love to fussy cut. So we're going to have these motifs on the front of our bag, and you're going to get the template for that. And you're just going to go ahead and make that. You're going to cut that template directly out. You're going to center it over where it's at. It's going to be a 2-step interfacing process that I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it. Trace it on, cut it out, and then attaching it. I love raw edge applique. I always have. It's always been something that I've used in my projects and in my work since I very, very first started sewing and sat down at a sewing machine. So I wanted to give others the opportunity. So we've put in the pattern exactly what our suggested stitch lengths are. You can throw it down with colored threads. Sometimes I like it to blend in. Sometimes I like it to pop out. We have a really great example in the Bella Arcs and Beauties add-on video. We used hot pink thread, which just looks so cool on those grand arcs to really make it stand out. Or you can use monofilament. So monofilament or monopoly is going to be an invisible thread. You're going to want to use a 70-10 needle with that and 50 weight in the bobbin. And you don't have to change your tension or your stitch length. Again, please check your machine, try everything out before, make sure you're really happy with it. But you're just going to go ahead and applique that down and zigzag it. Does that mean that's the only way to put it down? No, absolutely not. If you're a needle turn appliquer, teach me your ways, because I would love to be good at that. Right now, I'm not so great at that. But if you want to approach it that way, I'm going to give you a little pro tip. It's not in the pattern, but I was asked about it at the show. So I want to make sure that I just share that knowledge forward. Go ahead and just add a seam allowance to that template, and then you can just needle turn and just lay it down exactly like that. I know that some of my testers on their bags had actually embroidered patches on. I think it was the OESD. They had used some of the embroidery designs from that. And so then actually embroidered it on with a very, very tight satin stitch that looked very cool as well. Zigzag's my favorite. So that's the one that we suggest in the pattern. You could also put it down with the straight stitch. I encourage you to try lots of different decorative stitches that are on your machine. A blanket stitch looks awesome. I've used that in the past before with the heavier weight thread. You could hand sew something down. But the way that we are going to talk about in the pattern is to applique your motifs on with a zigzag stitch.
I was going to show this one too, because I actually did this one using a turned over edge, but you do it on the machine. So I just traced that template onto a water-soluble stabilizer. I think I still used the fleece like you suggest in the pattern, but then when I cut out my circle, I just eyeballed a seam allowance on it. But the stabilizer that goes under here is stiff enough that when you glue it on, you have stiff edges. And then I could just use my glue stick around and fold the edges under. And then I did just like you said, I used a blanket stitch to stitch it. So, certainly all those are options, and people can do, the method they choose. And I always say, try them all, and then you'll know what you like about each one, and, which one's quicker, which one's easier, which one gives you the look you want, and that's always fun. So one thing that I wanted you to talk about next, as we said earlier, the pattern is designed to go with Courtside, Leader of the Pack, and Out and About. So I want to make it clear that makers, if you're going to make these, you obviously need those patterns too. But Elissa, can you share some specifics about how makers are going to use the two patterns together?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really important note is that Leader of the Pack, Courtside, and Out and About are the standalone bag patterns. In order to finish the FPP all the way through with the bag, you have to have the bag pattern. They're going to work together seamlessly from one step to the next. So there's going to be two options. We're going to start with cutting and quilting, as I touched on a little bit earlier, just like we do in all of our favorite ByAnnie patterns. And we've given you two options. The reason for that is because the FPP unit is going to operate as your main fabric, meaning that FPP unit will cover up what is your main on the front of that pocket or on those padded straps. So for that reason, two different options. The first one is going to be to take just a lining fabric and your soft and stable and quilt those together, cut them to size, or you can already have your quilted soft and stable. As Annie, I know you have all of your fabric long armed, so all you have to do is very simply cut it straight out of your big piece of soft and stable. And then the FPP unit is going to go on top of those. So it's going to operate as your main. So there's no reason to fussy cut in that. Save those fussy cutting skills and that brain power for another area that you really want to show off. But that's how they're going to work together. They were designed specifically to the size of each of those pockets and in the manner in which they're put together. So Courtside, the side pocket on that, you installed a little bit different because there's no binding on the top of that one versus on the Out and About and on the Leader of the Pack that does have a zipper at the top where it attaches and then binding on top of that zipper. So each of those methods for how they're going to work with those patterns were really well thought out, tested, to be made sure that it was going to work with exactly how Annie has instructed you to put that pocket onto the bag. So there isn't I have to learn a new way to do it, and then this is going to be different from the pattern, and then how does that work together? It was all wrapped up nice and neat for you, so that way you can just move from one to the other. So just make sure as you're working through your pattern, and it'll tell you right at the top of the page, Leader of the Pack, Courtside, or Out and About, and they're all going to be together. But each of those is going to start with a cut and quilt. Each of those will have sample unit diagram, cut chart, coloring page, template, all those things. I love that you shared that tip on your template, how you did that fussy cut motif, Annie. That looked awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. All right, so you've got all the stuff in there of how the FPP works, and the nice thing is you've got exactly in there when they go and what step they go to in the pattern. So I think it's going to be. And the really nice thing, I don't think we talked about this earlier, is that these patterns were illustrated and laid out by Lindsay, who does all of the artwork and layout on our patterns. So I thought she did a really fabulous job of making yours look very different from ours, so that it's you. It has your personality in there. Different fonts, all kinds of different stuff, but it still is, I think, going to feel really familiar to people who have made ByAnnie patterns, and it's going to be really easy for them to pick it up and know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you mentioned that. Lindsay was awesome. She was so great to work with. She totally got my vibe, my personality, and managed to work the magic. It was a really great recipe of taking both of our styles and both of our personalities and both the way that you and I write and just making this like really great marriage of them together. And that was the idea, was we wanted to, as I said, as a longtime lover, maker, and educator of ByAnnie patterns, I really wanted to make sure that it wasn't it wasn't, oh, I have to learn a new technique and now I have to learn to read a pattern in a different way. So we really did set it up. While it might look a little bit different, on the pages, and like you said, the font and the way that it's laid out, but it's absolutely going to work sequentially through step by step by step. We're going to learn in different ways. There's going to be 3 different ways that each of our individual brains are going to learn. Some of us are going to be by the written word. Some of us are going to be visually with pictures only. And then some of us are going to be with videos. And so we've kind of given you all 3 of those things, and to make sure that it's still detailed in all of those areas to work through. So yeah, Lindsay was awesome. She's super talented, just really great. And I really, really enjoyed working with her.
And so patient. That's what I appreciate about her.
Yes.
She just takes us all right through it. One thing you mentioned briefly was the videos. So talk a little bit, remind people how they access the video and how that all works.
Yeah, absolutely. So add-on videos, if you're brand new to add-on videos, or if you haven't used your coupon codes, the coupon code is going to be on the reverse side of your pattern cover. It's going to have the steps, and you're just going to follow it through one step at a time. And an add-on video does not replace the pattern. It enhances the pattern and it enhances your experience, in order to see it and hear it in addition to reading and then doing. But you're going to flip that over. The coupon code is not specific to that pattern. It can be, worked across another one. So if for some reason you had an extra coupon code and you wanted to use it for backpack straps and pockets, that one's going to work too. If for some reason you lost your pattern cover, I guess. But make sure that you are logged into your ByAnnie account. If you do not have a ByAnnie account, it's free. And there's a ton of free resources in there. I would be absolutely remiss to not mention ByAnnie Basics. If you do not have a ByAnnie account, create your free account. The first thing you need to do is go enroll in the ByAnnie Basics course. Free patterns, super love it. It's where I started. It's still where I tell everyone to start. Sorry, I digressed. So you're going to work your way through. Make sure you're logged into your account before adding that add-on video to your cart. Add it to your cart, enter your code. It's going to zero out. It's going to tell you to check out. And then that course, that add-on video, is going to be added to your digital library and your course content. And that way you can access it if you're up sewing it 2 or 3 in the morning with your ice cream and, something else going on. You can see it there and you can watch it and you can pause it and you can go back and forth. And we're going to walk you through the individual steps of what to do in each of those patterns. And we've covered all of those things, everything from all the tools and supplies that I showed, to we're going to stack and sort our fabrics, to taking our fabrics to our machine, to paper piecing that, that first piece and then going through those pieces, to trimming our pieces, to joining our patterns, preparing our paper patterns before we piece, trimming in specifically in backpack straps and pockets, trimming our FPP units, attaching our padded straps to our, to our soft and stable, our FPP units to our padded straps. All of the things that it's going to take you, from start to finish. So those are going to be the add-on videos. It's a really, really invaluable resource. Again, it does not take place of the pattern. It enhances the experience.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And just so people are aware, you can watch it as many times as you want. It's not like you can only watch it once. So every time you sit down to do FPP, if you need a little refresher until you get the hang of it, watch it as many times as you want. And I really appreciate, Elissa, how you made this so that makers of all levels are going to be able to follow along without feeling overwhelmed. So even though some of these things may seem like really advanced details, you have really made them achievable. So before we wrap things up today, let's just talk a little bit about the Bella Quilt Coat pattern and its expansion packs. That's going to be our video next week, or our next week's Live with Annie. But if you want to just give them a little bit of a taste of what those patterns are about.
So one of the things that I wanted to make sure we mentioned, because I know we hadn't talked about it at all, and all of a sudden my brain was just like, yes, it looks arced and there's this circle and what's going on, and I don't want anyone to think, oh nope, there's a curve and I'm out, like I'm done, I'm not coming in, right? Foundation paper piecing is straight seams. There's no Y seams, at least not in any of my patterns. I don't want to make that caveat for all FPP patterns. But in these patterns, they're just straight seam piecing. So it really is to bring everyone to the table, and to invite everyone to try. So that's my point with that. Okay. So the Bella quilt coat. So I've got one on. I'm wearing one right now, and I've got two more. What side are they behind me? Yes. Okay. So the Bella quilt coat is a relaxed fit quilted coat. It is garment sewing designed for quilters. My background is in garments before I came into quilting. So I really wanted to take my love of wearing my fabric and bringing it to your coat. So it's going to have a view A and a view B. So view A is going to be one fabric. That's this one here. And that way you just get to show off your favorite fabric. View B is going to have a yoked front, which you can see here. Yes, I've got all my extra stuff on it, but this other one behind me is going to have a yoked front, a yoked back, a contrast collar, and an accent sleeve. There's no binding at all in this jacket. There's nothing wrong with binding. Binding just adds bulk, and I want to be super comfortable in the clothes that I'm wearing and not have that bulk. So there's no binding in it. It is fully lined. It has inseam pockets. I'm a pocket gal. I said it earlier. So I've got pockets there. It's going to have a zipper guard, and it is going to have a brand new ByAnnie 50-inch separating zipper. Super love. I cannot wait to talk more about these zippers. And the zippers are so lightweight. Oh, I love them so much. So it's available in a range of 10 sizes. I'm going to super briefly touch on those 10 sizes. So it is not 10 sizes as in a size 1 to 10 that you walked into a store and someone randomly assigned your body a number. Okay. It's going to be based upon the 1 through 10 is the size line that you're going to follow in your pattern sheet once you've measured your body. You're going to measure your body at your big 3 points, which are going to be your bust, your waist, and your hip. Based upon those measurements, you're going to fall into the actual body measurements chart. And the pattern also includes design ease. So in the finished measurements chart, you're going to see that they're larger than the actual measurements. That's what's called design ease. Ease is what is built in so that the garment is wearable, and you're going to have positive ease or negative ease. We're going to get into this next week. So come back and tune in. We're going to go through all that. But the size does not indicate a standard store size. There is no such thing as a standard. While there is a standard body measurements chart that exists out there, one person that's 5'8" could be the exact same measurements of someone that's 5 foot flat, which, Annie, you and I are down there in that shorter range. So it really is based upon your own body measurements. And so that you can just continue to feel fabulous in the clothes that you're making. I'm going to be a totally different size in like a Simplicity or a Vogue. If I'm in a Simplicity, I'm going to be, a body measurement of 14 or 16. In a Vogue, I'm going to be a 20 or 22. It's just a number. So I just wanted to touch on that super quick before we move, into next week. And we're going to do a much deeper dive about what those things are, what it means. And it sounds like a totally different language, but I've made it really, really approachable for quilters. If you can make a mini quilt, you can make this jacket.
Amen. And so next week we'll talk about the coats, the different versions. We'll talk about the accent sleeves, all the detail that you can put going down the sleeves, all the detail you can put on the front. What I like about this is that you take the skills that you already know and you put them into wearables, and that just makes it super fun. So after more than a year of working on all these patterns, what has been the most rewarding part of this collaboration for you?
Whew, you're going to make me emotional for a minute. I mean, sincerely, like, you know me well enough, and I feel like enough people do that. I wear my emotion on my sleeve, and I don't hide it anymore. It's been so rewarding working with just a super dedicated team of individuals, everyone from you, Annie, who's incredibly creative and supportive, to, all the videography team, to the marketing, to the pattern making, to the testing and going through that process. From feeling like, okay, you're almost there to you're not, to finally being able to say it out loud and physically put it in someone's hand. I really am going to get emotional. And just being able to give someone that hug and saying, thank you. I'm so sorry. You totally got me. That has really been the most rewarding, is just being able to say, thank you. Thank you for the support.
Well, and the thing
You
that
totally
I know
got me.
about writing patterns is, I can remember saying, there's so many patterns out there. Thank you for buying my pattern. And I
Yeah.
know people are going to love these because they're practical, they're beautiful, but they really let each person's creativity shine. So thank you for making them available to everyone, because I know we're going to see lots of fun stuff. Also, I want you to talk a little bit about this new prize that you're doing as part of our photo contest. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I'm so excited. So it's been lovingly named the Quilting Elissa's Level Up Award, because it's just an opportunity to allow your creativity to soar and shine and just level up your project, just to take it to the next level. I really do believe in empowering makers to dare to try, to believe in yourself, to try something new, just to see what happens. So it's really just about hoping that so many people are going to want to put forward what they did that made their project unique. It doesn't have to be FPP specific, so I don't want to scare anyone away. It can be any way that you took it to the next level. Perhaps it's applique, embellishment, embroidery, ribbon, patchwork, fabric, fabrication, secondary, whatever it might be that makes you unique, that shows off your unique style. That really is going to be the point. So we're introducing it today. It starts this month, so you can submit through the photo contest, through the monthly photo contest, just like you normally would. You can submit your photos and your story as to why and how you chose to level up. One winner each month will receive $50 credit at ByAnnie.com. And I'm just super excited. I can't wait to see what everyone does. And like I said, I really want to see everyone's creativity soar. And I cannot wait for everyone just to show off their skills. Like, I think that's great. Like, we have a skill set as makers, and I think it's such a gift to be able to share that with everyone and to believe in yourself enough. And if you haven't heard me say it, when someone says, "Oh my gosh, I love your bag, I love your coat, I love your whatever it is, did you make it?" You enthusiastically say, "Yes, I did. Thank you so much." And that's it, right? Because you've got a skill and it should be shown off. Yeah.
I so totally agree, and I'm with you. I can't wait to see what people are going to do with it. I've already heard lots of people who are starting coats, backpacks, other projects using the FPP, so it's going to be super fun. Before I let you go, let's check to see if our viewers have any questions, and there are some. So first question is, do the patterns have color illustrations? No, they don't, but they have add-on videos that are in color, so you'll be able to watch them. But the illustrations, there's really not a whole lot of need for color in there. The FPP patterns you wouldn't want to have color on, because you want to decide, do I want the geese to be colored? Do I want the background to be colored? How do I want to put that in? So you're going to do that yourself. Also, what type of machine do you sew on, Elissa?
It depends on what I'm sitting down that day. I've got a little bit of everything. So I've got a Janome, I've got a Bernina, I've got a Baby Lock. Anything that will straight sew is going to do the work for you. So if you're sewing on it with your ByAnnie bag, super fun. My first ByAnnie bags that I made was on my 1921 Singer Centennial. So not a ton of throat space. I made my first place for everything. I still love that bag. I use it all the time in cabinet. So I've got everything from like, a giant 80-pound huge throat space machine all the way down to just something that, I can grab, tuck in my car and go. So it really does depend on what I'm sewing on. I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't discriminate based upon my
Between
brand
them.
or my machine. Yeah.
That
And
sounds
I love
good.
that because I teach so many students that are on totally different types of machines. So my ability to have sewn on a bunch of other stuff is great, because I'm able to troubleshoot with them if something goes wrong, and encourage them along the way and give some tips and tricks. So yeah.
That's awesome. And that is so helpful when you're a teacher, for sure. The next question is, do you use top stitch needles for FPP or a different type of needle?
So I am a fan of Microtex, and the reason for that, just a Schmetz Microtex, and the reason for that is I just have found I piece very quickly. It has a super duper sharp point. Again, if you have a needle that you prefer, I encourage you to do that. If you have a method that you prefer, I encourage you to do that. Just because I foundation paper piece in one way inside of my pattern, and that's in the add-on video, does not mean for any stretch of the imagination that I'm telling you your method doesn't work. If it's tried and true and it works for you, like you said, Annie, earlier, do it. So if you have a needle that you love, use it. Like Annie, I think you like Superior top stitch.
I use the top stitch needle, not necessarily just Superior.
Yeah.
I like Schmetz as well, but I like the top stitch mainly because it has an eye that's twice as big and I can see the hole to thread it. So that's my
That's a
favorite
good
thing
point.
about the top stitch needle and why I use it almost exclusively. When I take my machine in to get serviced and they put a universal needle in there, I absolutely can't see the hole, so I have to replace the needle. They threw away my good needle and put in a new one thinking they were helping me, but not always is that a help. The last question on here is, will you be at Road to California? I know we are not planning to go to Road to California. Do you have any plans to go to that show, Elissa?
I don't. And the reason for that is my 2026 schedule has been booked for a while. And I just cannot possibly sneak anything else in. My son graduates high school this year. So I'm not traveling as much as I would in the current year. Because it is a graduation year, so it's kind of a little bit of an off year. I wish I could go to all the things. I want to be at all the things and see everyone, but I unfortunately will not be attending there. I will also not be at QuiltCon because I was asked a lot about that when we were at market. So,
got it. All right. Yeah, and you've got to take advantage of time with those kids. This is such a special year. Do not miss that. So I'm glad that you blocked out time for that. Elissa, this has been so much fun today. Thank you for telling everyone about the backpack straps and pockets pattern. I can't wait till next week when we're going to spill all the beans about the Bella Quilt Coat and its expansions. So we will look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you so much, Annie. It is always such a treat. Like, sincerely, I love being your guest. I love getting the opportunity to share, what I know we're both so passionate about. So thank you. And I so look forward to visiting with everyone next week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed learning more about our collaboration with Elissa and that you're excited to add some fun piecing to the pockets and straps on your next ByAnnie bag. So as always, be sure to ask for these patterns at your local quilt shop and supplies. If they don't have them, they can certainly get them either from their favorite distributor or directly from us. It's up to all of us to keep those shops strong and vibrant. So always check there first. Excuse me. Go ahead and go down, Glow. And again, we're always happy to set up wholesale accounts for them. So if they don't have a wholesale account already with us, just have them contact us for more information. I have just one more thing that I want to talk about before we go, and that is our So Pink project for the month. I hope you all enjoyed the blog hop that we did in October. It just wrapped up last week. We had more than 40 talented makers who shared their stories and project ideas over the month, and they really helped spread awareness of a wide variety of cancers, not just breast cancers. So we shared a wrap-up of all of those blogs on our blog on October 31st. So if you haven't already checked that out, be sure and do that. It has links to everybody's and a little brief description of what they talked about. And there's still time to enter. Elissa posted on October 30th. She's doing a drawing for a great giveaway. I think you can enter that up until the 12th or the 14th of this month. So be sure to check that out and do that. So November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month, which is a time to raise awareness about the world's leading cause of cancer deaths. I did not know this, but lung cancer accounts for nearly 1 in 5 cancer deaths globally. That's a lot. So this is a cancer that happens when abnormal cells grow uncontrollably in the lungs. And while smoking is the main risk factor, there are other risks like secondhand smoke, radon gas, air pollution, asbestos, and certain workplace chemicals. And lung cancer can even occur in people who have never smoked. So because early stages often show no symptoms, it's really important to know what to watch for. That includes a persistent cough, coughing up blood, chest pain, shortness of breath, unexplained weight loss, or frequent lung infections. Catching it early can really make a huge difference, and quitting smoking at any age lowers your risk and improves your overall health. So awareness, prevention, and early action are really key. There isn't a biological lung cancer color, but the disease is commonly represented by certain colors in awareness campaigns. And the most commonly recognized one is the white or the pearl ribbon. And so white symbolizes the breath of life, hope, and the desire for healthy lungs, while pearl represents the value of life and each person's unique battle with lung cancer. In the past, some patients used a black ribbon, which kind of reflected the stigma and judgment that was often associated with the disease. So in 2020, the White Ribbon Project promoted switching to white to challenge this stigma and emphasize that anyone can get lung cancer and no one should feel shame. So awareness ribbons like the white ribbon play a really important role in offering support, spreading hope, and educating the public about lung cancer. So for our project this month, we decided to make a set of clam-up bags. And we used fabrics from Art Gallery Fabrics. We picked a white, a pearl, and a light gray color, these are called white linen, coconut milk, and gentle feather. And since the clam-up pattern features 5 different sizes of zippered bags, I decided to challenge myself and try a different technique on each. So for the extra large bag, I pieced a white awareness ribbon using Sofinity's pattern, which you can find at their website or in our free Cancer Awareness Projects course. I used the white and pearl for the ribbon because I wanted it to be the two-toned, and then I used the light gray for the background. Because I wanted to add some quilting to the project, I just followed the lines that were around the ribbon to mark some diagonal lines, which I then just echoed all the way around the piece. And then after it was quilted, because you start this with just a rectangle, I cut out the body of the bag and finished it just as the pattern directs. I'm going to take these earbuds out. I don't need them anymore. All right, then we did something different for the large bag. So on this one, I decided to do some patchwork because I wanted to bring in all of the colors. And I used this product that I've had sitting in my sewing room for quite a while. It's an awesome fusible fabric. It comes from Carmen Geddes at 10 Sisters, I can't remember what the name is. 10 Sisters Handicraft, okay. And it's called Easy Piecing Grid, and it lets you align squares of fabric on a foundation. So it looks like this. It comes in panels. This is the foundation to end up with finished 1-inch squares. And so it's fusible on one side. You take the squares that you want and lay them out in the design that you want, and you put just one over each one of the squares, and then you fuse it down. Once you have all your squares on there, you just take your fabric and fold it with the right sides together. And because the squares are the fabric squares that you've cut are a little bit smaller than the squares on this, it folds super easy right along the lines, and then you just sew from top to bottom to get all your columns sewn together, and then you fold it horizontally to stitch all the rows together. You do a little bit of clipping in between there so that they fold easily. But the beauty of it is all those seams nest perfectly. You don't have to match anything. The fabric does it all for you. So the grid comes as small as 1/2-inch finished squares, which would be insane, up to 2-inch finished squares. So for this one, I want it to finish with 1-inch finished squares, so I cut 1.5-inch squares of fabric. It took over 150 1.5-inch squares for this little clam up, and I did all the cutting and the piecing and the quilting in less than 2 hours. I am sure that would have taken much longer if I had used traditional methods. So something fun to do. So that was what I did on the large. Then on the medium, I had seen a beautiful bag that someone did in the bag makers group. Glow's telling me I need to drink some water. I'm almost empty back here. So this one, I quilted the body again using a diamond grid, and then I hand sewed a little white pearl bead to the intersection on each. I only did it on the front of the bag. I figured I didn't need to do it on the back. Didn't want it on the bottom because I didn't want them sitting down there. And I did this after the whole bag was assembled. So I just buried my threads between the quilted layers so there's no knots or threads showing on the inside. It would have been easier to attach the beads while the fabric was flat before it was assembled, but I wasn't quite sure where all these seams were going to fall out, and I didn't want to run into beads in the seams. So that was a super fun one to do. And then on the next one, I decided to use a little crocheted doily to embellish the small bag. So I had to enlarge the pattern just a little bit to make sure that I didn't catch the doily in the seams when I sewed the zipper in. So I printed it out at 110% rather than at 100%. And then I just cut my fabric a couple of inches taller than what the height and width of the template was for the front, or for the whole piece, I guess. And I fused the applique onto the fabric, and then I cut that piece in half and added a strip in between those two halves so that my doily is just on each side of the bag. I didn't have one big enough, and it wouldn't have laid out right if I had put it underneath too. So again, I fused the doily onto one piece, I cut that in half, and then I added this piece, and I did all of that before I sewed the pieces together, or before I quilted it. So I sewed those pieces together, I traced the template onto it so I'd know where everything would fall out, and then I sandwiched them with Soft and Stable, and then I quilted just around the parts of the doily and added some quilting lines in there. And from there I just proceeded as the pattern directed to do it. Then I got to the extra small, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do on this one? And on this one, I just took one of my quilting stencils that is designed for a much bigger project, obviously, but I used it to mark a little feather design on the front and back of the bag. So I traced my template onto the fabric, and then I just laid that down and made it fit as good as I could. So I free motion quilted along the feathers, and to fill in the little area at the bottom, I just free motion quilted some little pebbles. My free motion skills are pretty rusty, but it was fun to practice with, and a great little project if you want to practice on free motion quilting, something useful that you can make with it when it's done. So these little zippered bags are so perfect for carrying treats and supplies. I love that they nest together when they're empty, and each one opens really fully, so you've got great visibility, easy access to whatever's inside it, and there's so many ways that you can use these lung cancer ribbon colors to spread awareness. I hope you'll consider making some too. If these colors and techniques would also really make great gifts for brides or bridesmaids, or in other fabrics, really anyone on your gift list. It had been a really long time since I made a clam-up bag. Once I got a couple of them under my belt, they were really quick, fun, and easy, so I hope you'll give some a try too. Before we close, I have a couple of special announcements. Glo and I had a super fun time last week when we went to Nevada to present a lecture and trunk show at Silver State Stitch Shop in Boulder City. They're one of our Creative Hub winners. We have scheduled 2 more fun virtual lectures for some of those winners in this year's contest. So on Thursday, December 4th, I will be presenting a virtual lecture for Cut Up and Sew, who's in Palm Coast, Florida. And I'm going to share a little behind-the-scenes look at ByAnnie patterns, insight into our company, and some inspiration for your future projects. We are also making time for a Q&A, so if you've got burning questions, here's your chance to ask them. You can join in person or virtually, so just visit the store's website for all the details. And that is just cutupandsew.com for more information. And also on Friday, December 5th, I will be presenting a virtual lecture for artistic artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia. And we're going to talk about the ByAnnie story, share some bag sewing tips and tricks, and maybe even talk about our new We Do Not Care Club. So visit artisticartifacts.com for the details there. We have not yet picked a time, so they may not have all the information up there, but keep your eye on that if you're interested in going there. And we've put up the links to both stores so you can find them. Don't miss these really fun opportunities to learn, connect with other makers, and be inspired. Thank you again to everyone who joined us today. We are going to be back next Wednesday, so we're not waiting a month. We're going just a week from now. So November 12th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time for another special episode of Live with Annie, when we're going to continue our conversation with Elissa, talk about her super popular Bella quilt coat pattern and its related expansion packs, the Bella accent sleeves, and Bella Arcs and Beauties. You are not going to want to miss hearing about all of that. So mark your calendars now. And until then, happy stitching!